Hi, it's Roberta with Quilt Crafters Corner. Today's block is called Blazed Trail. And I really like this block. It seems to be, it's got a nice pattern to it. It has some very small pieces though, so let's take a look at it and I'll show you how to work those pieces out so that they work for you. So here's today's block. Like I said, it's called Blazed Trails. And as you can see, it has some very small half-inch or half-square triangles. And these are 2 inches unfinished, so they will finish at 1 3/4 inches. 1.5 inches. They will finish at 1.5 inches inside here. So they are small. I want to show you how to do that so that you can get them right and you can get them straight. So let's start with the fabric. I've chosen 2 blue to do the next one in. And as you can see, a dark and a light contrast. You need that dark and light in order to get the contrast right. So let's cut our fabric. And I like to line it up on my mat so that I can just kind of get a good straight edge on it. And that's usually what I start with, is I start with a nice straight edge on my fabric. It just makes it easier to cut things. Now, when I cut this fabric and put it together, I start with my biggest piece, which is are these squares here. And these squares here are 4 inches. And so they need to be cut first. And usually what I do is I cut the fabric big enough for these pieces, and then anything else I can get out of it, I get out of it. So let's start with this. So we need a 4-inch strip. And that will take care of my squares, and it will probably take care of these pieces also, or these actually. So there's that one. And now it calls for a 3-inch strip, 3.5-inch strip, and then a 2.5. So I know from that I will be able to I will cut this one 3.5. And I'll be able to get both of those out of this strip. So I am done with this fabric. Okay, and this piece is a little bit different. It's just something that I left over that I've had and I've used before. You've seen this before. So I will square this up. I'll start with a nice straight edge on it. It's amazing how just sitting the fabric will sometimes, a piece that I've cut already will start to look crooked. Okay, so I need, same thing, a 4-inch strip, and I will be able to get one of my others out of this also. So there's my 4-inch strip. And cut a 3.5, and I should be able to get my others out of that. So that's what I have left. Okay, so let's deal with my 4-inch strip first. Okay, this one on my dark fabric, I need 4 by 14. So I will trim off just my little tiny selvage here, get rid of that, and now I need a 14-inch piece. Okay, and that's just extra. All right, there's my first one. Now I need my 3.5. And I will cut this. And this one needs to be 7 inches long. So it's 3.5 by 7. So this I will cut. All right, there's my 7-inch piece. And these are going to be 2.5-inch squares. So I will just cut these into 2.5-inch squares. So 1, 2, 3. And all right. I need to cut one more piece of 2 inches. I forgot my 2-inch strip. So let's cut my 2-inch strip. And these are going to be for these cornerstones here. Okay, on this one is the 4-inch wide. I need this 4 by 10. And there's my 4 by 10 piece. Now I'll cut this one down to use for one of my other strips, and this needs to be a 2.5. Okay, now I'll cut these into 2.5 squares, and they will match up with these. All right, let's take my 2.5-inch squares. And now these are going to be cut, well, actually, I'm going to mark them with a line from point to point on the diagonal. And what these are is I will sew a scant 1/4 inch on each side of this line, and these will make my little tiny 2-inch half square triangles. All right, so there are my 2.5-inch squares. And like I said, I will take it to the machine and I will sew a scant 1/4 inch on each side. Now, when I'm doing this, I start out really slow and don't go too fast, because these are such small pieces that the fabric can twist and turn on you. So be careful when you're sewing these, because they're so small and they have a tendency to move. So just go slow on these and take your time. All right, I have sewn my 2.5 inch squares on 1/4 inch on each side of the line. And what I'll do now is I will just cut these in half on the line. And I have 2. There's 4. 6. And 8. All right, now I'll take them to the iron and I will press to the darker fabric. And I will just very carefully, so that I don't distort my square. All right, here are my little tiny half square triangles. Now these are going to be squared up to 2 inches. And so I want to make sure that I have my diagonal line, my 45-degree line, on the seam so that I can get these nice and square, and the seam comes out at the points. And I just make sure that I've got my diagonal, my 45, on that seam, because the important part is for this to come out at the points. Let me do another one for you. And that's all that needs to be done there, is just make sure you get a nice, your seam coming out to your points, because once you include your 1/4 inch seam, you don't lose your points. So I'll finish these and let's go on to the next one. Okay, this is my 3.5 inch strip, which I need to cut 7 inches long, because I need 2 3.5 inch squares. And that's this piece and this piece there. So this is going to be cut into 2 3.5 inch squares. So there are 2 of my squares. Now the rest of this can be cut down into my 3.5 inch rectangles by 2. And that will be this piece here, and this piece there. So I need 4 of those. All right. Now the last thing I need out of this will be these squares here, and there's 4 of them. No, actually there's 10 of them, so I'm going to need this piece here also. Right. Those go with those. Okay, I have my 2 light squares, which are on the diagonal, and now I'm going to have my 2 dark squares also on the diagonal. So they're set like that. Now let's start setting my 2 by 3.5 inch as I lay this out. And now these are my little 2-inch squares that I cut. And those just go up here in the corners like this and this. Now I have 2 more left, and those are for this point here and that point there. Okay. These are my 2 by 3.5, and that's here and here and here and here. Now let's put my little 2-inch squares in. This is going here, and there's one here. Here and there. Now, these places here are where my half square triangles fit in. And they are going to be like this. And there. And here and there. So now all I need to do is sew these pieces together, and I will have my block. All right, I have my two squares here done, and they're put together. So now I will work on these, and I will get these put together. And I usually start with the the middle square, and sew one piece on, and then I will be sewing that on. So let me do that. Okay, now I'll be attaching my little half square triangle units. And when I do this, on the back of the half square triangle units, there's a nice cross where the two seams meet here. And I want to make sure I just get right on the seam side of it so that I do not lose that point. Okay, as you can see, I've sewn this piece on, and now you can see where my seam goes, and it goes right through that so that I know when I open this up, I have a nice point there, and I have a nice 1/4 inch seam there. So that's really important to make sure that you get your seam right there where those two seams intersect. Okay, now I'm ready to attach my two sides to my block with the 1/4 inch triangles, or the half square triangles. So I will just line this up, and then I'll make sure I get through these points here so that I don't lose my points. All right, I have my 4 squares made. Now I just need to attach them together and my block will be done. So I will take this to the machine and I'll sew a seam here and here. And there we have it. There's my block. And we have it in the green and we have it in the blue. So that's today's block. And I want to thank everybody for watching. And I would love to hear your comments. I'd love to see if you make this block. Show me your blocks. So I want to thank you for watching. And I will see you again. I'm not sure when I will see you again. As soon as I make another one of these videos.